It's like the first slice of the bread.
Absolutely.
Like, everyone's touched it, but no one wants no one wants to eat it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Okay,
I think when you say out loud, apply a real case example, it's not realistic, is it? Because if you want to be that woman that you just described, for that man that you just described, you're going to be working, he's going to be working, he's going to have these expectations. Or are you saying that people should drop their expectations based on their earnings?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
But you know, just going back to, you know, like running the household and everything, I do think a woman can work a 9 to 5 and maintain the household.
Absolutely.
I don't see why she can't do
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like just mop the floor the night before and, you know.
Do you think most women these days have a realistic approach on what they expect from a relationship from a guy, especially from a man who's successful, built themselves and independent, etc.? You know, do you think it's realistic what women expect? You know, they expect that guy to be...
I don't know what they expect from that, though. That's the thing. Cause
how about let's talk about loyalty, then I want to move on to mental health after that.
Right, okay.
So let's just say you have a guy, let's make up a guy, let's call him Sunny. let's go with a different name. Anyway, we've got a guy and he is in business, works 60 hours a week, around the clock, travels across the world, is very good to his... let's use the word girlfriend,
partner, spouse.
And what is today's perception on loyalty and monogamy?
Right, okay. So it depends whether I hear so much about this. It depends whether you're talking from like a red pill perspective. So
it's a red room, isn't it? So
yeah. Okay, so I think that depends on her. I really think that depends on her, like how she treats him, how she makes him feel, because I do believe that for a guy to cheat on, I don't think a guy could cheat on his woman who he loves very, very, very much. I think if he's cheating on her, then I don't think he loves her as much as what he says he would, because he wouldn't.
What are we defining as cheating, though?
Going as far as sexual activity, you know, like pursuing another female, like whilst he's married, etc. I suppose maybe you could go as far as texting, depending on how.
But a lot of the guys that you're referring to that earn 6 figures, they're in business, they're traveling the world, you know, out and about, they want to, I guess, enjoy the experiences of the world. And is it fair for these men who are in that elite category to tie themselves down to one woman who's looked after, bills are paid, Birkin bags, you can Google that later. You know, is that fair? Is that realistic? Is it safe to keep someone from exploring and enjoying the world, or do you feel like... I'm not going to say fair or unfair. You know, it's each for their own, but I just think if that's your level of enjoyment to having to go and be what's the opposite word to monogamous? I don't know.
Okay, so if that guy...
free.
Yeah, if that's what you need to do to feel free, to cheat on your wife, and just because you're earning 6 figures, is that not a problem in you?
I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
But I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I mean, if there's guys that are doing that and the wives know about it or they don't know about it and they're fine with it, like, and you know that they're still happy. I get what you're saying. Yeah, he looks after her, he pays a bill, so why should he not be able to like release or like have a little bit of fun now and then? But I don't know. I don't know for me.
It's very... I'm
not saying there's right or wrong. I'm not saying there's right or wrong, and I know that does happen. And like, do you think David Beckham's loyal? Do you think David Beckham hasn't had fun when he's been touring around the world? Like, come on, man, it's David Beckham. So on a realistic point of view, yes, I know it does happen, but when you put it in that perspective, it's like, well, I pay her bills and I make 6 figures, so I should be allowed to do that. I don't think I agree with that bit. Like, I don't think that should be your free pass to do that just because you make 6 figures.
Yeah, no,
that doesn't quite sit right with me.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. And I want to touch on some other topics as well, because I want to get some topical points across.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what's the expectation from a woman then? So we talked about, you know, this is what we're looking for from a guy. So what does a woman need to bring to the table to warrant that loyalty?
To warrant the loyalty?
Because look, let's just face it, right? Like social media these days, you have women have the wrong role models. There's so much sex appeal out there.
Oh, absolutely.
In my opinion, women make so many mistakes when they're younger in terms of not being as respectful to themselves as they probably should be, and they learn that lesson later down the road. And again, music videos, what else? There's social media, Kardashians, people like that. And it's almost championed these days to sleep around, explore, be liberal, be free.
You can just get your phone out and you can go on Instagram and you can check DMs, or you can DM a girl. Like, the girls are just everywhere. They're very easy accessible. All you have to do is subscribe to them, get a momentum going. And, you know, it's so easy for people to cheat these days.
Oh, yeah.
It's too easy. It's way too easy.
But forget the cheating part. I'm just referring to, like, we talked about like high value men and like, we're talking about high value women. So from a women's perspective, we know that the culture these days is very much accepted to, what do the people call it? It's like, what's it called when people are just casually
like an open relationship? Just like seeing
which, to be honest, is not that different to what I was saying not so long ago, really, is it? You know, things are quite very open these days.
I think if boundaries are laid out from the start and boundaries and expectations, and you actually clarify with each other, right, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do, these are the boundaries, this is how far we can go, and you can both agree on that, and you actually pursue it, and there's no conflict, crack on.
Yeah, but circling back to my sort of original point, I think society these days is very hard to find a quality woman because there's so much like cultural influence, you know, music videos, songs, things you see on TV, Instagram, where, for example, you'll have, you know, sex sells, doesn't it? And I feel like a lot of women will wear it as a badge of honor that they've slept around, they're free, they're liberal. And especially when they're younger, they make a lot of mistakes in terms of, you know, like for women, like you should be sacred, is my view, especially a more mature view. And that's what, like, I find like attractive, you know, women that are like who are not out there. They're not.
The less accessible you are, the more valuable you're gonna be.
Absolutely.
It's like the first slice of the bread.
Absolutely.
Like, everyone's touched it, but no one wants. No one wants to eat it.
No, absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So how can we? What's going to be the challenges then? Because, you know, if you're someone who knows your worth, you've built yourself up, you earn 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever, right? How do you then
find that valuable
how do you then find that valuable woman? And also, as a young woman growing and finding her way and getting life experience, how does she not trip up and make mistakes that might impact the quality of her relationships in the future? And almost also, you know, how can she avoid being in situations? What can deter her from taking the wrong path? Because I feel like people are just getting together like there's no man's business, and they're regretting it later on in life. Because I speak to a lot of people and got a lot of insights in terms of regrets and mistakes. And how do we overcome that? Because it's championed to live a life like this, isn't it?
Okay, so talking from a personal perspective, how I sort of like steer away from that is I look and I observe the people around me. So there's a lot of people, a lot of my friends, and, you know, they've been in long-term marriages or it's a new relationship. So as a single person, for someone who doesn't have the time and resource to dedicate to my own relationship, I've got a lot of time to observe what's going on around me, and I learn from that what to do and not what to do, etc. If you want it from a personal perspective, it's kind of hard for me to comment because I'm not in the dating market. So yeah,
it's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
It's hard for me. It's
hard
to comment,
from both perspectives because, you know, if you are, well, let's use a word term, use high value. If you're a high value man and you built your wealth, you built your business, you spent so many years, times, hours in the day, sacrifices, compromises, you got to where you got to, you absolutely have the right to be selective in the type of woman that you want.
Absolutely.
You know, and, you know, there needs to be a checklist.
I think everyone has a right to be selective.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do. But then I feel like the higher value you are, the more the less you can compromise.
The more you stand,
the less you compromise in that context. So it is tricky. And then same for women as well, you know, like in a perfect world, a woman would want to be a housewife. She'd want to cook, clean, raise a family and do shopping and go out with her girlfriends and stuff like that. But again, what we're describing is less and less common these days, probably for 20% of the population, if that. And I don't know, I think what people say they want and their actions, they don't align.
It doesn't align.
And
yeah,
you know,
they don't stay true. They don't stay true to the value. So they say like that, you know, they want this. You know, it's like scenario. If a guy says, you know, I want a high value woman who can stay at home, cook and clean, and I'm ready to commit long term. But what are your values? Are you watching like pornography every night, and are you subscribing to like 50 models on OnlyFans? Yeah. But your values don't speak for that. That doesn't tell me that you're ready to actually commit and settle down.
Yeah, it all comes down to maturity as well. And
absolutely.
And let's be honest, all your relationships in your 20s, the vast majority of them are going to be a waste of time because...
Take it from me.
Well, there you go.
Well, not a waste of time, a learning curve.
Yeah,
you know?
because look, at the end, let's talk about even my perspective. Like my mindset was completely different 10 years ago. I was living a different life, and I'll talk about that another day. But this day and age, you know, I'm in my 30s now, and
hustling.
It's taken time to get to where I've got to. That's changed my view on people, men, women, men who are successful, men.
In what sense?
Well, yeah. So, for example, you know, I look at guys now who are my age and think, right, you're a waste of space. No, it's true. You mess your life up. You're successful. I look up to you. I want to work with you. I want to network with you, because it gets to a point where, you know, fun and games are over, and what have you accomplished?
Yeah.
And time's only going to go against you.
Absolutely.
So you've got a limited opportunity. And then what that does, it does create, talking on behalf of myself, your time's important, because if you're working, you're earning, you're building, you're doing multiple different projects, and you're doing well, you're going to naturally attract good things. And the expectation then is you don't want a woman to then hold you down. You want to bring you up.
Yeah.
So the expectation for women, it's not just having a pretty face. It absolutely helps.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah, absolutely. It helps having a pretty face, but it's all about, you know, what's up here and what she can do for you and how she can help
absolutely.
You building that business.
And even like you said earlier about, you know, time, it's so important, because I think most women don't understand that when you are in business and if you are earning 6-7 figures, you're not freely available, and your time is limited.
Not at all. Yeah. And, you know, I think it would take a high level of emotional intelligence to be able to grasp their head around that.
Yeah, because
women are needy. You know,
you need attention.
I'm not needy, but I can get a bit clingy. There's a difference. I'm not like, I need you here, you know, like, I'm just like, you do what you need to do. But so I have been known to be quite clingy. It's like, you know, like, babe, where you going? Like, can I come? Like, I just want to be in your presence. Like, I want to come. Like, as cliche, as cringy as that sounds, we're either needy or we're clingy.
Yeah. I think the bottom line is women want attention, and women can go against you, especially in your business and startup. They can pull you down because they see that you're more invested in something else other
and
than them.
they'll take it really personal.
Yeah, even if you're not business, for example. If you want to be successful in business, that's just the reality of it. I talk about that in other videos as well. Yeah, it's a selfish journey, and you've got to put that first. There's a very small percentage of women that are very hard to find, and I refer to them like diamonds. You have to search the world to find them.
Where do you think you'd find them? Where would you find them?
Well, that's
$1 million question, isn't it?
Well, it's hard, you know. And I think the good thing about travel,
excuse me,
is
water.
Yeah, you drink up.
Oh,
is there alcohol in there?
No.
No, the good beauty about travel, you get to explore different cultures, get to see different people, and you get to broaden your horizon, your perspective. But, you know, I look at women as diamonds, and you get different levels of purity. And I'm looking for the purest form, and that's not easy to attain. So it's not going to be on your doorstep. You might have to search around and do a bit of digging. But
where would you start though? Like,
where would I start?
Yeah.
Where would I start? I'll start within my own space. So, you know, who's in my network? And that's you know, a good place to start, isn't it? If you go to a bar, the tier of woman is not going to be very high, is it? It's going to be a standard woman, and you start with your network. So if you're in a high network and you're on, you know, high net worth individuals, see who's in that space.
Yeah.
You know, see who's in that space. Sometimes you can have a chance meeting, and that really is a chance meeting. You know, which is the same, no different than getting a lottery ticket, isn't it? It can happen, but it's chance. But for the most part, you know, you need to find people within your network, within your circle.
Absolutely, I agree.
They'll understand.
Start with your own circle.
Yeah, and let's just say you're from a business background like myself, and you have a network, and there's different people in that network. There's chances are that these people are going to understand the business goes, how the game works.
Yeah.
And they're going to like live a similar sort of lifestyle. So it is interesting in that regard. And, you know, it's a loaded question. So I don't think we'll have too much time for me to unpack. And it's not about me today. I'm the one asking. I'm the one asking the questions. Okay. So ultimately, where you find them is probably within your network and just by chance as well. But you'll always find them in real life. You know, trying to find someone online, waste of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Waste of time.
So averse to dating, like online dating. You know, all my friends are like, "Oh, you should set up a Tinder profile and just have a laugh with it." I'm like, don't ever say that to me again.
Yeah.
Like, not a chance.
Yeah, Tinder's for me, it's like breadcrumbs at this stage, isn't it? It's been around for 10 years.
I just won't entertain it. I won't entertain online dating.
But let's be honest, if you even look at Tinder, what it is, it's basically an app to hook up, really, isn't it? That's the stigma.
Yeah, so that's
the stigma, isn't it?
That is actually how it started off, isn't it?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there'll be a few exceptions to the rule, but the majority is, like, Tinder is known for its vanity. I like the look of you, you like the look of me.
Yeah.
Come to my place, or let's go for a drink.
However, I have met couples who have actually got married.
Yeah. No, I don't dispute that. I don't dispute that. And like I said, this is back to my diamond comment or gem comment. You know, you can find a few diamonds in the rough, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. And then let's talk about mental health, because relationships can be quite toxic, can't they?
Absolutely. It doesn't matter, you know, how perfect it is. I think over time, there does become a level of toxicity in a relationship.
Based on what, though? What does that happen?
It can be just something down to as like silent treatment. You know, silent treatment. Communication, silent treatment. I think it's awful. You know, like giving your partner the silent treatment, it's toxic, in my opinion. Especially if you're doing it for no reason. It's like,
yeah, so obviously you went through a recent breakup. Did you experience any toxic behaviour?
Yes.
If so, is there anything you want to talk about?
No. We need to make a code word, don't we? Yeah, there was times when... And, you know, and I don't mean to trigger like anyone in the audience here, but I was always... not a non-believer in mental health. I was always quite arrogant towards it. Like, it'll never happen to me, you know, like depression is, I'm not saying it's not real, because obviously it's real, you know, but for me, it was always like, well, depression and PTSD is for people who have been in like the army, you know, that they've got a reason.
It's a state of mind. Depression is a state of mind. And you got to remember, like, sticks and stones will break my bones and words will never hurt me. I think if you've got a working body, right? So you've got no disabilities. We don't, right? And
what do you have to be depressed about?
Exactly. Like,
that was basically my outlook on it. Is like, what are you depressed about?
That's what it is. It's programming.
I think depression, anxiety,
programming.
PTSD, ADHD, you know, it gets thrown around. It gets thrown around so easy these days, and it's so easy for anyone to hold their hands up and be like, I'm depressed. So, you know, I should get all the treatment, you know, or I've got this, and, you know, I'm anxious, so I can't do this. And I think
it's state of mind. Because at the end of the day, like,
it's a belief.
What is depression? For me, it's a state of mind. Like, I think the problem is people don't realise that you have to go through downs to go through ups. You have to go through rain to get sunshine. You know, there won't be no light until after the dark. That's just how it is. And people live in a fantasy world where they just think it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. and they don't have to go through any adversity. When you go through adversity, that's when you grow. It's a choice. When you're going through something, it could be anything. It could be business stress. It could be financials, whatever. It could be one or two things you could approach it with. It could be, for example, right, I'll talk about myself. There's been times where, I mean, I've had to raise 50K in, say, 3 months, and I literally had to pull out of thin air, pull out of the sky.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, but is it though? Is it? I don't look at it as overwhelming. I look at, right, I've got a challenge, and I'm going to be solution orientated. So what can I do? What are my options? And when you come out of that, you build resilience, you build, in this case, business acumen, and you develop and you grow. That's how you grow. You have a bad relationship once, right? It can be a lesson.
Yeah.
Because you get to learn, right, I should experience X, Y, and Z. I shouldn't tolerate A, B, and C. And then obviously I should know this and apply this going forward. So for me, what depression is I can't hack the current state of my life. And I don't want to do anything about it. I'd rather just pump those feelings into feeling sorry for myself.
Rather than actually.
All depression is people feeling sorry for themselves. And it is. Look, let's be honest. Parents will die. And, you know, it's horrible for that to happen. But it's a natural part of life. And we shouldn't be depressed when someone we love about dies. We should celebrate the life of that person. So give me an example when the last time you was depressed.
I don't.
Okay.
It would probably
What about the relationship?
Yeah, like after the breakup, like yeah, I think I did experience some level of depression, but it's like you say, it's how you look at it. I can either sit there and feel sorry for myself, or I can remove myself from the situation and focus on growth and learn from it.
Yeah. How long was you in that state of mind for?
Oh, not long.
An hour?
Oh, you mean like a deep like mode of depression, or oh no, I would say like on and off for like 2-3 months.
Do you know what it is? I can tell you something, and this is facts, and listen to what I'm saying here. Do you know what it is? It's all emotions and it's feelings. This is all it is in the mind. And when we feel sad, there's a chemical in the brain that gets released, and it gives you a sensation no different than having a cigarette, right? When you have a smoke, you get that release of nicotine and all the other chemicals. That's all it is. And all you're doing is when you keep revisiting something over and over again,
you're triggering that.
Yeah, you're trying to pull that sensation. So it's a behavioral issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's discipline. So for me, like, if a situation is bad, why would you be depressed? You're only depressed is when you're telling yourself.
When you're telling yourself that you're
right,
depressed.
I need to feel like this. It's programming. So I don't subscribe to that at all. And there's no reason to be depressed if you've got no disabilities, you can walk, you can talk. Especially if you're in a developed country like the UK, the amount of people shouting, the amount of people shouting about depression is a joke. You have people take illegal immigrants, for example. They'll somehow find a way to put together 10K sterling with their money, which is not going to be worth a lot. They'll somehow find a way to attain that, and they'll get across the sea, across the channels, just to better their lives, right? And you'll have people in the UK who can't seem to, they want to start a business, they don't have to raise capital. They're not happy with where they are, all the opportunities they have. All you need to set up a business is a phone.
Absolutely, yeah, phone and Wi-Fi, yeah.
And I think depression is more a case of mindset. Is people that have failed or are failing and they don't want to do anything about it. And actually there's a story that I'll tell you about a dog, and I talked about this the other day. There was a dog, let's just say, sat here, and the dog was sat on a nail, and it was whimpering. And I'm just paraphrasing the story here. And it would just whimper just enough so you could hear that it's in pain. But it would just stay there and not do anything. And then people ask, why is it not moving? Why is it not putting itself in a better position? And the dog's owner was like, look, the dog's in pain, but the pain's manageable and he's happy with that. That's the same with people. Yeah. A lot of people, they know that they're not in shape or they're not in a bad relationship, for example, and they should do something about it. But they're happy to sit on that nail and feel that pain, because it's not enough these days, is it, to make people shift their mindset. So I don't know. I think the whole mental health, depression, it's a choice. Like, no one is handcuffed to someone else.
Absolutely. I always say, and probably my biggest lesson last year is, whatever you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, whatever.
Be the change you want to see. And if you're in a relationship that you don't like, who's stopping you from...
Exactly. Who's stopping you? No one's holding a gun to you.
Why do you think women will tolerate toxic relationships for so long?
I think the first one is self-esteem. A huge lack of self-esteem.
And where's the lack of self-esteem coming from? Instagram?
Maybe even their upbringing. Maybe even the way that they were raised. Maybe they grew up around a toxic marriage and they don't know any better. They might have learned it from their parents. They've never been shown love. They've never been shown any other way apart from the men cheating on them, hitting them, whatever is going on in that relationship. So they've always learned, okay, that this is the norm and this is what I'm going to settle for. This is how it's going to be.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting. Again, it's another loaded topic that we'll have to unpack. But what I will say, though, is from a man's perspective, there's probably less than 5% of women in my eyes that are just gems and like real diamonds. And if you find someone like that, you should absolutely treasure them.
Yeah, treasure them.
And if you're not a woman like that and you want to date someone who's got a high earning potential or is currently a high earner and can give a certain type of life, think to yourself, am I worthy of that?
Yeah.
And if you're not, make change if that's what you want. If you don't, you turn into that dog sat on the nail because you know you want something, and you know what it is you want, and you know you're happy with your current situation, but you're choosing not to move and make a change. Anyway, let's wrap up part 2 and we'll check in for the next one.